Putin would have to admit to himself that he made a terrible blunder, criminal decision to invade, that it hasn't been 3 days, it's been over 3 years.
In Pokrovsk, the tempo of battle has shifted. Russian forces, after weeks of intense assaults, have slowed their push and reduced movements, waiting for reinforcements while trying to sneak supplies through the southern outskirts of the city. Ukrainian intelligence reports confirm that Russia is attempting to sustain its foothold inside Pokrovsk with small, covert resupply operations rather than open advances. Ukrainian defenders, however, remain alert and adaptive. Troops from the 7th Air Assault Corps stopped multiple infiltration attempts into Hryshyn, where Russian soldiers disguised themselves as civilians in an effort to bypass defenses. The deception failed, and several enemy groups were eliminated before they could reach key positions. President Zelensky announced that Russian forces launched 220 assaults on Pokrovsk in just 3 days, suffering heavy losses in both manpower and equipment. Ukrainian command estimates that about 314 Russian soldiers remain trapped within the city, cut off from reliable supply routes. Despite Moscow's claims of partial encirclement, the Ukrainian military maintains its logistics corridor open, allowing fresh reinforcements and ammunition to flow into the front. At the same time, Ukrainian forces have made tactical gains elsewhere. In the northeast, units advanced in the Kupiansk direction and held defensive lines in Volchansk, while to the south they repelled repeated assaults north of Siversk, Kramatorsk, and Konstantinivka. In Dobropilya, Ukrainian formations gained ground, putting additional pressure on Russian flanks and complicating enemy reinforcement routes toward Pokrovsk. The fight for Pokrovsk has become one of endurance and precision rather than sweeping offensives. Russia appears to be consolidating, digging in, and preparing for renewed attacks once reinforcements arrive. Ukraine, on the other hand, continues to disrupt those preparations, relying on drones, mobile assault groups, and intelligence-driven strikes. As the city remains under constant bombardment, both sides are aware that Pokrovsk carries symbolic and strategic weight. For Russia, its capture would signal progress in Donetsk. For Ukraine, holding it means breaking the enemy's momentum. The coming days will reveal whether the Russian pause is a sign of exhaustion or the calm before another storm. Ukrainian drone operators intercepted a Russian fiber-optic drone approaching their lines, then took out 2 lurking FPV drones, 4 soldiers, a sedan, and an armored vehicle in a rather one-sided game of tag. Fiber-optic drones have become one of Ukraine's most effective battlefield tools. Unlike traditional drones that rely on radio signals, these are guided through a fiber-optic cable, making them immune to Russian jamming and electronic warfare. Operators can fly them directly into enemy trenches, bunkers, or vehicles with pinpoint accuracy while maintaining full control. Their video feed can't be intercepted or disrupted, giving Ukrainian units a decisive edge in reconnaissance and precision strikes. As the war evolves, fiber-optic drones are redefining drone warfare. Silent, unstoppable, and nearly impossible for Russia to counter. Russia and its propaganda machine targeting the global south seek to build a cheap and inexhaustible reserve of expendable soldiers. Many impoverished people, poisoned and deceived by Kremlin propaganda and anti-Western rhetoric, head to the war in Ukraine in hopes of earning money. Russian tourism companies have essentially become recruitment agencies for war. And in most cases, it's a one-way ticket. Abbas Hamdallah, known on social media as Abbas al-Manasir, is among many Iraqis who share their experiences in the Russian army on TikTok and Telegram and offer help to those who want to enlist. He joined the Russian army in 2024 and now has a Russian passport. Abbas later shared videos warning others that joining the war carries a 99% chance of death. He estimated that around 1,000 Iraqis have joined Russian forces since 2022, with up to 200 killed.
Now they are asking for a certain language level They either test you on it or accept you if you have a language certificate, and the language will not be ordinary. It will be full of codes and military symbols specific to the Russian army. I do not advise young people, and I personally do not recommend the Russian army, because basically you will come as a stormtrooper and they will tighten on your hand either this red tape or a bullet, and this white on your hand and leg, and they tell you to trust in God. The difference between the colors red, lead and white is the strength of the assault in you, which is the first line of defense, and white is the infiltration and artillery forces. The tank and the forces of no return, as they call it, are the mincemeat forces, which are the forces of no return.
President Trump. So you would say that Ukraine cannot win that war? Prime Minister Orban. You know a miracle can happen.
But at the same time, we are not unified because Brussels and the Europeans have a different approach to the war. So the only pro-peace government is the United States government and the small Hungary in Europe anyway. All the other governments prefer to continue the war because many of them think that Ukraine can win on the front line, which is a misunderstanding of the situation. So it's a complicated issue.
To both of you.
So you would say that Ukraine cannot win that war?
You know, miracle can happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Poland and Romania have begun deploying the US-made MIROPS anti-drone system, already tested in Ukraine. According to AP, compact enough to fit in a pickup, MIROPS can detect and neutralize drones even under signal jamming conditions. NATO aims to eventually line its entire eastern flank with the system to deter any Russian advances. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said that Putin may prefer a bad war in Ukraine to a bad peace, which would expose his mistake in invading the country.
If Russia were to prevail in Ukraine, she would be tempted to use the territory, the industrial and human resources of that country to go further. And that's why it's important to keep Putin's army as far as possible away from our borders, which means helping Ukraine to defend itself. Putin would have to admit to himself that he made a terrible blunder, criminal decision to invade, that it hasn't been 3 days, it's been over 3 years, and that perhaps 3 more years of this is beyond Russia's means. It's very difficult for a leader who started an aggressive, illegal war to admit the mistake, to change the decision, and to survive in power. So it is permissible to theorize that for the president of Russia, a bad war is preferable in terms of holding on to power than a bad peace.
Peskov says there's no mutual trust between Russia and Ukraine and blames Ukraine and Europe for lack of peace.
Certainly, it's absolutely impossible to talk about any mutual trust right now. This deficit, or rather the absence of it, is evident. But the main thing that is currently hindering the settlement process is the pause that has arisen due to the unwillingness of the Ukrainian side to follow the path of diplomatic settlement. And due to the provocation of the Kiev regime by Europeans to continue further hostilities.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.